explains to me like I'm a 2-year-old, okay? Because there's an element to this thing I just cannot get through my thick head.
Well, that's everything I think when Joe Schoen speaks, when he makes a move, when he does anything. This is Tim's New York Giants Talk, powered by Online Big Blue LLC. Want to talk about free agency, which starts officially at 4 p.m. on March 12th. The legal tampering, of course, starts on March 10th. And evidently, the New York Football Giants, according to people like Chat Sports, are signing every single free agent under the sun, making every single trade, and somehow they are all going to still have all their original draft picks to take a quarterback and rebuild this entire roster. It's just painful. It's just painful. The New York Giants, I mean, with the increase in the salary cap, with the ability to make some moves, they're going to have a plethora of cap space, 100%. But the problem is this. You don't want... Joe Schoen has said it when he first came here. He says, I do not want to just spend money in free agency. I'm going to build through the draft, and then I'm going to turn around and augment through free agency. Oh, Lordy. The Giants can have anywhere between like $55 to $60 million in cap space. I mean, Lord knows what the number exactly is going to be. There's talk that they're going to move on from Bobby Okereke. I laugh because I did it like 2 weeks ago. I said it on the stream, and I also did a video. I said we should just get rid of Bobby Okereke because you're only going to save $3.5 million, but you overpaid for an off-the-ball linebacker that this team did not need. The Chicago Bears set the market value, and we increased that market value by about $5 million a year. So I think going into this free agency, I have high hopes that we're going to be smart. We know that's not going to happen because you know Joe Schoen.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
He always wants to do things the hard way. But you would hope that we don't all of a sudden just start... I mean, listen, this roster is devoid of talent. Let's be honest. This is a make-or-break year for the front office. John Mara came out and said, I'm not saying they're going to lose their job, but what I'm saying is if they don't do well, they're going to lose their jobs. And I believe they are going to get shit-canned by probably Thanksgiving. ESPN has the Giants' estimated cap space at $47.6 million. I love it because they say that's enough to do damage. The Giants need everything. And people that sit there will tell you, well, they don't need a lot. And I love these scenarios that people come up with that we are signing all these players with this $47 million. Now, we've said this before. The reason we have $47 million is because we don't have a quarterback on the roster. They just re-signed Tommy DeVito, thank God. Because who else is gonna make the cutlets? But you don't have a quarterback on this roster, and you're going to have to find one. Either way, going through the draft, going anywhere, you're going to have to find a quarterback. Justin Fields to me would make the most sense. 4-2 as a starter last season. But then, of course, when Russell Wilson got healthy, they turned over the job. He's only 26 years old. He's a running quarterback. I believe, he's shown some Jonathan Moxon, a little bit of moxie at times in Chicago, threw some nice passes, did not really have talent around him as much. And he went into a better situation in Pittsburgh, played well at times, but still showed that he is a work in progress. If you're looking for a guy that's going to fit that system that Brian Daboll's going to run, Lord knows what the fuck it is. You're probably going to have to look at someone like Justin Fields. But what's his market going to be? He's a 26-year-old running back He's a 26-year-old quarterback who can run. Where are you going to go with that? I mean, there's always the Aaron Rodgers route. You can't see that. I love it that everyone wants to bring Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Smith to New York, even though they're already in New York, even though they flamed out with the Jets. You didn't see enough of them on the other side of the building. You should just bring back Daniel Jones.
Are you crazy? Ow!
Yeah, I'm crazy. What made you think I was sane?
I mean, and then beyond that, you have the likes of Jameis Winston, Carson Wentz, Joe Flacco, Jacoby Brissett, who I think has been around for every single team, and the Garuffalo. which I laugh because the Garoppolo was the backup for, wait for it, Sam Darnold. But that's gotta be a guy to talk to. But is he gonna want like $15 million? He might. You're not gonna go with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, is probably gonna want like $30 million. Anyone that gives Sam Darnold $30 million should have their fucking head examined. You want to talk about how certain guys are system quarterbacks? This is a guy that just fell into a system. I love the fact that no one's talking about Daniel Jones staying in Minnesota. I laugh because if you think about it, within the same calendar year, Daniel Jones will be on his third team. But you have to look at this from a perspective of what are you going to do? What are you going to get? What can you get? You look at the defensive side of the ball, you know you're going to need a corner. Anyone thinks that you're going to go into next season with Drew Phillips as your CB2 or your CB1, you're a fucking nut. I keep seeing, what's his name, J.C. Horn, his name being bandied about. Good player. I liked him coming out of college, but he's in 66 games. He's only played in 37 on a bad Carolina team. That's a giant player to go get. I love what's his name, Byron Murphy over from the Vikings. That would be, kid's 27 years old. He had 6 interceptions, 14 pass defenses in his first Pro Bowl. I love it. You put it into perspective with Drew Phillips. Drew Phillips did not have a pass defense going into game 17. And then he finally got an interception the first time since high school. This is a guy that's going to get that's a kid that's going to get a big time contract. He's going to force his way probably into the open market. I mean, can he get $19 million a year, $20 million a year? Oh, I think he could. Because he is that corner. He's that corner you drool over. He's that CB1. Like sweat from my balls. But that's CB4. But will the Giants, will the Giants go towards that direction? I mean, I think they should. I mean, I think if you take a look at it from that perspective, you're gonna have to find talent. But the thing is this: if you want to make an initial splash, if you want to make a big splash, sign like one guy, one big guy, and then turn around and sign not roster fillers. I think that's a bad way to say it. I don't want roster fillers, but then turn around and find guys that will help your organization and help you build in the long run. I know everyone's talking about T. Higgins, but T. Higgins got franchise tagged for the second time. So I mean, same with Trey Smith. But you got to find, if you want to make that big splash. I love that people think that DJ Reed from the Jets is that big splash. He is that big splash. I mean, he's probably either 7th or 8th best free agent right now. But that doesn't mean, do you really want a 5'9", 180-something pound corner? I know he's played well. He had 55 tackles? 55 solo tackles, I believe, last year. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, it was 50. He had 55 solo tackles, 1 total pressure, 0 interceptions. That's a giant guy right there. Because why do we want to go with someone that's going to be a ball hawk? But if you're not, and the thing is, you're not going to get him on the cheap. And that's the way you have to look at it. You're not going to get him on the cheap because he's a good cover corner. But the problem is this, like I said, he is another guy. You're going to be paying for a 5'9", 180-pound corner. That's not that prototypical guy that I have high hopes for. So if you're looking for like a big name splash, you're going to need a guard. Potentially you need 2 guards. You're going to need a tackle. I personally think you're going to need a center. I know people have bandied about Cam Robinson. Cam Robinson, man, is probably one of his pass blocking efficiency is stellar. I'm not going to give you that. But the problem is this. I mean, he's a guy that's kind of gone downhill over the last couple of years in Jacksonville. He's almost 30 years old. He would be, like I said, he's another guy that would be a Giant fit. But I think the problem is this: you got to look for guys. You have to look for guys that are willing to come here, and that's going to be the big thing. You're probably going to have to overpay a little, like we did for Bobby Okereke, but you're going to have to find guys that are willing to come to New York. Are there guys that are willing to understand that? Listen, you have to sit there and you have to see this, and you have to feel this, and you have to be willing to be part of this regime for the next couple of years, with the knowing and understanding that you are probably not going to be good, and you're not going to be good for a while. You may not be good for another 3-4 years. So you have to, if you're in the latter half of the prime of your career, if you're 28 years old or 29 years old, I would not go to New York. I would not go to the Giants. Because by the time you get good, you are probably going to be in your mid-30s. You're going to be probably like 31, 32 years old. That's not a way to run through your career. So what really, in my mind, you're going to need to do is you're going to need to find some younger guys who are willing. You're going to have to go the Antonio Pierce route. And what I mean by that is, if anyone remembers Antonio Pierce, what Antonio Pierce did is he had a good stretch and a good couple games with the Redskins, because it was the Redskins back then. And then he came out and he signed that big contract with the Giants, and he turned out to be what he is. But if you look at it from that perspective, if you're not bringing in guys that are going to have a willingness to be maybe on a 3-4 win team, that's the scary part. And that's what you're going to have to look at. And now I hope they can find them. Like I said, there are a lot of guys out there that will be maybe looking for that second chance, maybe looking for that third chance, maybe looking for that fourth chance. But if I'm a guy like Ronnie Stanley, or what's his name, Milton Williams, the big defensive tackle, and not that we need Milton Williams, but if I'm one of those two guys, Milton's 26 years old. He's going to want to go to a winner. Ronnie Stanley's 31. If he was him, he's not going to the Giants. Age alone will predicate you not going with the Giants. If you're looking for a wide receiver, maybe you go get a Chris Godwin. He's coming off the dislocated ankle. I think he also he tear an ACL a couple years back. But he still has talent. He's 29 years old. He's going to be looking for that last contract, that last big contract. Why not make a run at someone like that? I'm just, the Devontae Adams thing just doesn't give me any heat. At 32 years old, and what is he, a 2 now, or maybe a 3? I know, Giants need a linebacker. And if you're looking for a leader, Nick Bolton's my guy. He's a 3. He's another guy that plays off the ball linebacker, but he's a 3-down linebacker. And that's what you need. He basically plays all the snaps for Spags' defense. He's got value. And at 25 years old, he could be a building piece for the New York Giants. Like I said, Nick Bolton to me would make the most sense. Nick Bolton, Justin Fields. You need that corner. Asante Samuels Jr. is out there. The only problem with Asante Samuels is with his tenure over and with the Chargers. I mean, could you say poor tackling? When something's really, really bad, I guess poor is a good word. But when something's atrocious, maybe we'll just go with fucking awful, because the guy can't tackle. He's also a guy that he's not going to be a press cover corner, but he's a playmaker, and he's a guy that can go after the ball. And again, he's 25 years old. If you're looking for a guy for a building blocks, there's the guy. Ernest Jones over in Seattle. He was what was he traded? Was he in Seattle last year, Ernest Jones? I forget yeah, he was. But he's a guy that he's a tackling machine. He's a guy that puts himself in the right place. He's a linebacker that we could actually use on this team. And he could do he's got the versatility. He's got the look. He's got the power. And then, like I said, if you're really looking for someone to like back some shit up, especially in the defensive tackle position, because I'm not overly enthralled with what we have, Calais Campbell's still out. Calais Campbell is still around. I remember when he was in Jacksonville. Calais Campbell, I believe, is 497 years old. But he's a guy that still clogs up the middle. He's a guy that still has an ability to take on that. He does, you know what? He reminds me of Dalvin Tomlinson. He does that dirty work. And I'm going to use the old cliche. He does that dirty work that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. Giant fans like to use that one about most of our players. He does the things that don't show. Carl Banks is more of that. He does the shit that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. And if you're going to go running back, you know, because I'm still not sold on Tyrone Tracy. What about 30-year-old Aaron Jones? Good season with the Vikings. Great pickup. Kind of faded at the end of the season. But we don't need him to be the bell cow because of the fact that, you know, I believe that he'll have that ability. You got Najee Harris out there. Najee Harris is one of those guys that he reminds me of Wayne Gallman. 27 years old. He's got some receiving skills. He's not the burner. He's not going to get past anybody. But he's a guy that's he's going to come in there and he's going to work hard and do his thing. I love it because I saw Dan Moore Jr. Dan Moore Jr., who's over with the Steelers. He is a guy that I've always liked, and he's gotten better every year. He had a little rough start, but he's really come around, and he is more than a serviceable starter at left tackle. He's one of those guys you can move to keep. I think you can push over to right tackle, especially if you're moving Evan Neal to guard, and you keep Andrew Thomas. And he is a good backup at 26 years old if something happens to the likes of Andrew Thomas. You know, and if you want to go for a name that might want to revive his career on a lower end deal, you got Joey Bosa, 30 years old, situational pass rusher. Guy that's just he's you know. You know what I laughed though? BJ Hill is still around. 30 years old. He seemed like he played forever now with the Bengals. We don't want to bring him back, but that's just a name I see that's just a name that just popped up on my screen. But like I said, you have a lot of lower end filler guys that you could probably get, not on the cheap, but guys that you could probably get, you know, at a talent level that will want to come here because of the fact that, you know, they are looking, you know, for that opportunity. Especially if you got, like I said, if you're the Giants, you got to go with a guy that's in, you know, early 20s, and then you have to hope that, you know, he wants to grow with the organization. Because if you, like I said, you go out and get a big name guy that's 30 years old, all you're doing, you know, and give him a 4-year deal, all you're doing is he's just coming here for the paycheck because this really is a franchise where, you know, where players come to die. Let's just be honest. Giants need to just get smart, work through the draft, do some filler shit in reference to the salary cap, in reference to not overpaying, and kind of go from there. Oh, we're going to do a live stream on Sunday, talk all about this. This is Tim Stewart, Giant Show Talk, powered by Online Big Blue LLC, and I'm out of here.